We are back, everyone. I'm letting all my speakers settle in, settle in. Hello, Michaela.
Hello.
And then let us get our next person, Naomi. Before we get into more strategies, because I feel like the strategies kind of complement like what you all do and kind of how you all got your scholarships to college. So I want to kind of pause and kind of get into how you were able to get into your universities and the struggles that you all are have been throughout your journey to get to these wonderful institutions and be able to afford to be there without having to be so stressed out. So we're gonna start with Michaela. Michaela, please introduce yourself once you're off of mute and tell us about who you are and then why you decided you wanted to go to a HBCU.
Hello, everyone. I'm Michaela Anderson. I'm currently a fourth-year student at Hampton University in their 5-year Master's of Business Administration program. I'm also a leadership studies minor, and so I'll be graduating in spring 2021 with my bachelor's in business administration. However, I'll be staying for an extra year to receive my master's in business admin. I chose to attend Hampton University for a lot of reasons, but the initial one would be a strong connection to the organizations I was a part of. So in high school, I was a part of 3 organizations that exposed me to HBCUs, thankfully. The first one was the Arc and Net Club, which is a youth auxiliary of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. They actually took me on my first college tour, which was to a list of HBCUs, and I initially fell in love with North Carolina A&T. However, I also had the pleasure of being a part of Seeds of Fortune, in which Natalia mentored me and led me to the right way. So I was initially already interested in business, and so she basically explained to me and helped me choose an HBCU that had a strong business program. Hampton University is one of the top business HBCUs, and so that's actually why I ended up going there. The final program that I was a part of is the Sean Carter Foundation, and they also took us on another tour. So at that point, I had visited Hampton about 3 times, and I fell in love with the culture, the campus, and the community.
Awesome. All right, Naomi, shed a little light on us. Who are you? Well, I already said who you are, but like, who are you?
Hey guys, my name's Naomi Johnson. I'm currently a dance major in journalism and strategic legal managed communication double minor from Brooklyn, New York, and I attend Howard University. I guess I can just talk about similar to Michaela, like what organizations I was a part of, like prior to going to college. And the number one was obviously Seeds of Fortune. This program really helped me, one, prepare for school and really just think about like what my financial situation was going to be and how I was going to, if it wasn't what I wanted, make it to what I wanted, or choose the right school that was like best suit for my financial situation. And with Seeds of Fortune, we actually went on a few tours, I think, maybe 1 or 2, and we saw a bunch of different schools. Another organization that I was a part of was something called Teen Lift, which was run at my church, Emmanuel Baptist Church. However, it was specifically ran by Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and what they did was they basically required us to go through a program where we had to come every Saturday and like learn about a bunch of different things, whether that be like financial literacy or health and wellness, etc. And then at the end, they took us on a free college HBCU tour. And so on that tour, you were able to visit, you know, all of the big and small HBCUs, which was also very, very helpful.
Excellent. All right, ladies, we're going to get into it. Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay. How were you able to secure institutional funding as a high school senior? Let's start with Michaela, because you had quite a journey. I think Emmanuel's like kind of like the epicenter here for you guys, but yeah, let's start with you.
I am going to start with. Okay, so yeah, I actually did have a pretty long journey to securing my financial aid. At first, it was a toss-up between two schools for me when it came to business. So it was Hampton University on the HBCU side, and I was also in the rounds for the Posse, which is a full tuition scholarship to go to Babson College in Boston. And so I had to basically decide between those two, but the deciding factor for me was actually I went to an on-site admissions interview at EVC as well. And once I got accepted, when I was there, I also got invited to their honors visitation weekend. And basically, Hampton University invites you for the weekend as a high school senior, in which you get to take classes on campus based on your major. You get to take a tour of the campus and meet students and things like that. And then at the end, they actually award you a scholarship. And so on the final night, they awarded us our scholarships actually based on our SAT scores. I think while I was there, my SAT score was probably in the 1100 range. And so initially I was only awarded, I think around like $10,000, but they did like let us know, they did inform us that if we retook our SATs, then we could be allotted more money. And so that's exactly what I did. So they raised my scholarship after I retook my SATs. And then they also surprised us with a room and board scholarship, well, a room scholarship. So I didn't have to pay for housing as well. So that's where it started.
All right. Okay. All right, Naomi, your turn.
So can you just repeat the question really, really quickly?
So it was, how were you able to secure institutional funding as a high school senior? And for all my high schools out there, we're using some college acronyms. So that means just funding specifically from the school. So when we did our presentation a couple of minutes ago, we were talking about how the schools can help you to fund your way through the HBCU. And that's the first place you should be looking. How much money can you get from the institution to the HBCU itself? All right, Naomi, your turn. Go, girl.
Yeah, so for me, I think I had a slightly different experience from Michaela because I had only like visited Howard once, and I didn't go to their accepted students day. I wasn't like really involved like that, and that was because I was still trying to figure out what school I actually was going to go to. I was still deciding on a lot of schools actually, but more specifically Syracuse University and Temple as well were probably like the three that it all came down to. And I don't want to say what it came down to was scholarship, because in the beginning, I believe Syracuse had actually offered me the most money. However, they didn't offer me the position for the major that I wanted. So I was kind of torn. And Howard didn't offer me anything at all in the beginning. So I really did take a leap of faith. And what I had to do from there was basically like bug their financial aid office. And when I say bug, a lot of you guys are going to experience it. People can tell you like you're going to have a hard time, but you're not really going to understand until you really get there, and you're like literally fighting to get money for like the grades that you've earned or the SAT score that you've earned. So I was literally, I don't want to say fighting, but me and my mom, thankfully my mom was very helpful during this process, and Ataya as well. We were calling the financial aid office at Howard, I want to say maybe at least twice a day for like a very long period of time, trying to get scholarship money for the grades that I had earned, because based on like the school's website, whatever average I had, technically I was supposed to be able to get money. And whatever SAT score I had, technically I also was supposed to be able to get money. But one thing that you'll find is just because you qualify doesn't mean you're actually going to get it. And so that was my issue. And after bugging them for probably like a million years, they finally gave me a scholarship. And I think that's what I had decided to go there. But it definitely was a very long and frustrating journey too, because you want to be able to be in a secure position, like when you're choosing like what school you're going to, and knowing that for the next 4 years you're not going to be struggling taking out a bunch of loans so that you're not in debt.
That's right, ladies. Somebody put in the comments that runaround. So yes, there is a runaround. So we love our historically Black colleges and institutions, but I think this is the true epicenter of the hustle. Okay. So you need to hustle, hustle, hustle. If you want to be able to go to HBCUs and not be stressed out financially, one, decide, right? Some of them had to take a leap of faith, but it was a calculated risk because they had some backup options just in case it didn't work out. But you do, at some times, depending on the institution, because every HBCU is run differently, we don't want to generalize, but you definitely have to be persistent, especially when it comes to money, because nobody just want to give away money for free. I mean, the colleges are, nonprofits, but they're businesses as well. They have certain operating costs, and every scholarship they give away, takes away from something else that they could be funding or a professor that they could be paying. So if you have the grades, even if you don't have the grades, but you have the leadership, you have the community service, you really want to show that off and be persistent, calling that financial aid office. So we have a question, did either of you use UNCF prior to admission? So I know that some of them did it afterwards, but I'll let you guys take it. Did you apply to UNCF prior to attending the university as a freshman? But I know you did get some after you were a freshman. So I'll let you guys take that.
I didn't apply prior to. I honestly secured my scholarships through like smaller organizations and smaller programs. And so the larger ones, I won't lie, initially they were kind of like scary to go towards. However, actually last year, like my junior year, I did secure a UNCF scholarship. It was an Altria program scholarship, and it was because I was a business major. However, again, I learned about that scholarship through a prior student from my school, and so that honestly goes back towards two connections. So even though it was a larger program, I heard about it through connections. So I didn't find it on my own, but I did secure that one, and it was a large amount of money.
Somebody said, secure the bag, sis. Secure the bag. So I think we're transitioning to outside scholarships. So Naomi, I know people might not know this that are watching us now, but you're a dance major at Howard, and dance can be one of the harder majors to get funding for, but you were able to secure an outside scholarship. So tell the people a little bit about that. Yes.
So I actually didn't apply for UNCF at all. I'm not sure why, but I didn't. I've missed that bag. But I did apply for a bunch of other different scholarships. One being the HBCU Foundation, which all of you guys should definitely write that down. It's a foundation. They have money, and they have to like get rid of it. So as long as the money's still there and you qualify, you like may get something from them. Another scholarship that I actually got this was specifically for my major, was something called the BAM Script Scholarship. And basically there's an arts, place, if you must, in Brooklyn called Brooklyn Academy of Music. And what they do is they basically host a bunch of shows for all things arts. And so what I had to do in order to get this scholarship was be a part of like one of their junior programs. So I know there's a lot of like larger scale companies and places that may have like small programs. So like Rock Nation, for example, I know they have some program that you can attend on a smaller scale, and then they may allow you to apply for the scholarship because you attended that program. So it was one of those situations, and I ended up getting it. Like I mentioned before, I also got a scholarship from Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. For that scholarship, I'm just going to talk a little bit about how like you actually like get these scholarships. I had to write an essay and I had to do an interview and then I had to do a third interview. So it does become intense sometimes, but as long as you believe in yourself and you know that like you're committed to like going to school and you're committed to your future and what you want to do, the scholarship panel is going to see that and they're going to love you just for you. So don't ever think that you need to like be someone else or seem like you're this person that you're not, because that's not what any of these people are looking for. They just want to know who you are and what you stand for. So that's how I got that scholarship. A lot of us go to church as well, and I also received money, I think, every single year from my church, which was like accompanied by an essay as well. And all you really had to have was like membership to the church. So like you've been going there for X amount of years, as little as one, I guess, as long as you're a student and you have like proof of your admissions letter. And then one more scholarship that I got is something that was not for my major at all. I actually didn't think I was going to get it. It's from a company called PRA Health Sciences. And basically, I was able to apply for this because my mom works for the company. And it required an essay. However, they didn't tell you the level of scholarship that you could potentially receive. Like they just said, you can get a scholarship, but they didn't actually tell you how much. And then in the end, I ended up figuring out there were like different tiers to the scholarship. So when you guys are applying to like these smaller scale like company scholarships, just remember to like try your best or do your best. If there's like an essay, have people look over it, because you never know how much you actually can get. Like sometimes companies have a lot of money to give away and they may be looking for, they may not be looking for like the best essay and like grammar or whatever, but maybe they're looking for somebody that's different or someone that stands out from the crowd. And so that's just something to keep in mind.
I also want to add to that, another thing with like institutional funding, you can also look into different programs that are within your school, because I actually receive institutional funding from my minor as well. So the minor that I'm in, a leadership studies minor, but it's also like a separate program in a sense, which is run by the president of Hampton University. And so each semester, like, we also get money for that. And we also have something called, it's basically like a study abroad program where we go on like a community trip. So once you apply to that, if you get accepted to that program, they also will give you money. So if you find like separate organizations or programs that are still within your school and the money still technically comes from school, that can also help out.
Awesome. What do you think? I know Naomi started to touch a little bit on this, but what do you think are some of the things that helped you to stand out in your application pool? Because some of you have gotten some very competitive scholarships to your schools.
Me, I'd probably say like the extra, I think, did it for me, because my grades, I mean, they were decent, but they weren't amazing. Like I probably had, I don't want to lie, like a 3.3 average on a 4.0 scale. In my SAT score, it wasn't super high. I had an 1180, if I remember. It was so long ago. I really don't know if they change the level and the scores every year, but my grades weren't super high, so it had to have been my college essay, and two, my extracurricular. So I don't remember if colleges still ask for your resume. Do they still ask for that in your application? Okay, yeah. So your resume is going to be super important, because you're basically letting these universities know that you're not a one-trick pony. When I say that, I just mean that whatever you're like, let's just say you're applying for the marketing program. They want to know that you're not like, you're coming to the school, yes, to study marketing, but you're also going to be able to learn and develop because you have other skills. So that's something that's pretty important that I think helped me out a lot. And then my college essay, I want to say I started writing it the previous year with Seeds of Fortune. So I was writing my college essay for a long, long time, and I was going over it and rewriting it, and it was literally like, I just didn't even want to go to college anymore at that point because it was so stressful. But obviously that was just like a crazy thought that I had. But yeah, going over your college essay, you must like have somebody reread over your essay. Like it doesn't matter if you guys want to reach out to me, I'll just drop my Instagram and you guys can DM me and I may be able to help you with something or maybe point you to someone who can. But ask your mom, ask any teachers you may have. I think English teachers are like required to like look over your college essay, so make sure you're like taking advantage of that.
I would like to agree 100%. My grades were like pretty average in high school as well, but one thing I always prided myself with was extracurricular and being well-rounded, because everything is not always about the numbers. And so the thing that's going to cause you to stand out, well, personally for me, it was my interest in entrepreneurship. So going in, I started a natural hair brand called Knotted Up in high school, and a lot of my essays were centered around that. Similar to Naomi, when we were in C's, we had to start our college application process and our essays our junior year of high school. So we had writing coaches who would like probably delete and make us switch the topics weekly, like just continuously. And it does get tiring, but once you settle down on like one story to tell, there's different ways you can tell that story, like depending, or basically like figuring out how to match it up to whatever the prompt may be for the scholarship. So that was really the thing that made me stand out. Besides the organizations that I was a part of, it was the interest that I have, because scholarship programs, they don't only like, it's not really just about them giving you the money. They want to see what you can add to their program. So, for example, being a part of Seeds of Fortune, like we had to do an interview process for that. And yes, she was assisting us with college applications, scholarships, life, internships, everything. But here we are still adding to her organization. We're all growing together. So you have to make sure like there's a give and take when it comes to it. And also recommendations. Recommendations are huge when it comes to scholarships. I feel like that's what honestly gets me every time, because you want to make sure that you have strong relationships with whoever. Like it could be mentors, it could be high school teachers. I still have high school teachers that will vouch for me until this day. College professors, whoever it is. But most of mine were from the programs that I was a part of. So they had personal experience with me for years. And once you strengthen and maintain that relationship and you have them vouch for you, then the scholarship, like the committee, they'll see that or whatever. And then their confidence in you will grow.
Excellent. So I'm going to transition a little bit over to Five Strong Scholars, because I think it's an amazing organization. We've mentioned Posse a lot during this conversation, which is a full tuition leadership scholarship to usually predominantly white institutions. They haven't really done HBCUs, and I think it's because of the diversity. They're trying to diversify PWIs, but I think it's something very beautiful about us strengthening our graduation rates and our retention and ambitious students on our HBCU campuses. So I'm going to let Caroline introduce the Five Strong Scholars program, what that's all about. If you're in the Atlanta metro area, this is something you should be listening to right now. If you're a junior particularly, I'm not sure, you'll define your timeline season. I'm not sure if it cut off yet or not, but I'll let you take it away.
Awesome. Well, and good evening, you guys, and Natalia. Thank you for having me. And let me just say, this is a great organization. I wasn't privy to what you guys did until I got the invite to come, but I'd like to say that Naomi and Michaela, you are exactly the type of scholars that we look for at Five Strong. You've actually stole my thunder with all of your great advice, but I'd like to tell you a little bit about Five Strong. As you guys are aware, Posse, Five Strong, so Andrew Raglin is the founder and president of our foundation. He was a counselor at the Atlanta Public School for about 11 years. And in that time, he was actually sending scholars to Posse. And so he said to himself, well, you know what? This is a great opportunity. Why isn't anybody doing it for HBCUs? Thus started Five Strong. And the thing with Posse is Posse typically sends 10 scholars to their schools. So he decided, well, you know, I'm HBCUs and I don't want to scare them away. So I'm just going to ask for 5 scholars. And what our program does is we partner with HBCUs who currently have full tuition scholarships. We don't ask them to do anything special for us. All we ask is that they set 5 of those scholarships aside, and then we also negotiate with the test scores as well as their grades, because what we try to focus on is those students that are, the 3.3 to 3.5, the ones that are not going to get a full ride tuition. But what we do is, because of our program and the commitment that we have to our scholars and our HBCU partners, they create agreements with us that allows us to get those students that wouldn't get a full tuition scribe because of their grades, a scholarship. And by doing that, what we do is we have a 3-interview process. We start our application process August 1st. So our application is actually open now. For anybody that's on the call that is in Metro Atlanta, our applications open August 1st, and they'll go through December 1st. The requirements to even apply for 5 Strong is you have to have at least a 2.8 GPA. You have to have a 1900 ACT and 900 SAT. And if you get that, you are automatically invited to come and interview. We do a 3 interview process where we bring you in, and what we do is currently we have 9 HBCUs that we work with. One of them, we have a graduating class, and that's University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, and they will not be returning because they no longer have a full tuition scholarship. But what we do is we allow those individuals that meet our minimum requirements to come in and interview. And we do the first round of interviews is just a really big group interview where we bring you in and we look at you, and kind of to what Naomi and Michaela said is, we are looking for those kids who are going to stand out. We're looking for those kids whose personality is going to stand out, those that are going to take that leadership role, because our goal is to make sure that we are not only providing students that are going to go to our partner institution, but they're also going to graduate, and they're going to go and they're going to be a part of that community, because we understand that this is a commitment, not just for them and for us, but it's so that they can also pay it forward, because again, we want to make sure that those students are going on those campuses, they're getting involved. So when we have events like this, we have our scholars come back and speak as well. So once you get invited to interview, we'll go through the first round. And typically last year we had over 300 scholars that interviewed. And so we had to take a whole day of just interviewing those scholars, and they do group events. They talk about current events, and they get to really just kind of shine. Then from there, we narrow it down to a second interview where they come in and they do individual interviews. And that time, that's when we need to find out, what are you doing on your school campus? What have you done? What programs are you involved in? A lot of our scholars this year were entrepreneurs. They had started their own organizations. They had saw a need that needed to be met, so they started those organizations. So we look for those scholars that are gonna not only go in and get a degree, but give back to the organization as well as to the community. If you get to the third interview, at that time you're given an interview with a panel. With our HBCU partners, we like to bring in alumni, because like we keep saying is that, if schools are going to give you money, they're going to give it to scholars that are going to come on campus, that are going to do what they're supposed to do. And they're looking for net promoters. They're looking for scholars that are going to come in and that they're going to promote their schools, that they're going to go out and they're going to represent those schools. So after that third round, if you are selected, and typically what we do, we select 5 scholars for each school. Because we've been so successful in what we've been doing, and this is actually our 5th year, we have 5 cohorts across 9 different HBCU campuses, and they're the smaller campuses. They're not the big names. We're trying to get to the big names, but right now what we realize is that those schools have people pouring into them, but there are so many other amazing HBCUs out here. So we are definitely trying to grow our network as we begin to process. So once you become a 5 Strong Scholar, then you have to commit. You have to commit to being a part of our organization. And that means coming to 8 college prep sessions. And we do those every other Monday, well, bi-weekly, starting in February, and we do it until the end of May. In those sessions, we actually professors. Some of our staff are actually college professors, but we bring in college professors. We bring in current students so that they can talk about what their experience is on those campuses. We bring in scholarship advisors that'll come in, because our goal is definitely for them to go to college, but to keep finding money while you're there. Because while the goal is absolutely to graduate, it's for me, it's let's graduate with as less money that you owe as possible. So it's scholarship. Our scholarship is only tuition, but what we find is because of the grades and the caliber of the students that we're getting, the institutions that we partner with are giving them additional scholarships. We actually have some scholars that are on a full ride now, based off of the additional money that they got to get in scholarships, as well as the financial aid that they've gotten. But our goal is to make sure that by the time our scholars walk on those college campuses, they are ready and prepared. We understand, what it's like, because out of our 9 schools that we have now, we only have one in Georgia. We only have Fort Valley. The others are in Alabama. We have Alabama A&M, Alabama State, Fisk University, Lincoln University, Langston University, Bethune-Cookman. Who else am I missing? I think that's it. But what we do is we partner with those HBCUs, because our goal is to increase their retention and graduation rate. And so we make sure that those scholars that we send have that support. Once you become a scholar and you go off to campus, then you are required to meet monthly, because what we found is that when scholars go so far away from home, they tend to get homesick and they don't know anybody. So the point of going with a cohort should help relieve some of that. So we try to make sure that monthly they are meeting. It is a requirement. Once they go get on campus and they're getting through their college career, they have to submit their grades to us each semester, because there is a requirement to keep their scholarship. If they do not meet those requirements, they lose those scholarships. And once they lose them, they cannot get them back. So it is our goal as an organization to make sure that we are giving them everything that they need, so they can not only go to college, but you can graduate, and you can graduate on as less money as possible if you keep looking for those scholarships.
Excellent. This is for all our panelists today. What are some advice that you would give to high school seniors right now, or transfer students looking to fund their education? And then also, I think, Michaela, you didn't say all of because some people are asking in the chat, were your scholarships only your high school senior year, and then were some garnered during college? So if you can clarify which scholarships you applied to during which time periods, that would be helpful, so that they can go and search for different scholarships that might be helpful to them.
Okay. What I will say is, and like the ladies have alluded to, apply to everything. I tell my scholars, even those scholarships that you may not think that you qualify for, because here's the thing, as Naomi said, you never know what they're looking for. It may not be in your field, but the thing is, there are organizations that have money that's set aside, and they're waiting for someone to give that money to. I am a graduate of Langston University in Oklahoma, and we have the Thurgood Scholarship for our scholars, and every year they're having to give money back, because kids aren't applying for it. So regardless to whether you think you qualify or not, apply. Because here's the deal. If you never ask the question, if you never ask, the answer is always no. So you've got to go out there and you've got to seek them. Don't stop. Just because you get in, don't stop. You need to keep, some are renewable, some aren't. So you want to keep applying. We tell our scholars, when you go off to school, applying for scholarship is your part-time job, because you want to make sure that you get that money that's out there.
Definitely. It's definitely a part-time job, to say the least. And all your recommenders are on your part-time job too. So be gracious so you can give them some time so that they can write you letters of recommendation, at least a 2 weeks notice, not 24 hours.
That's it.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, with regards to the scholarships that I have received, it's literally half and half. I honestly believe I received more scholarships when I was in college than prior to. And that was because I redirected my focus. So while I was in high school, I was applying to everything, like the little ones, the big ones, scholarships.com, like all of those big name websites. However, once I got into college, I realized that if you look in the right places and if you let people know that you are actively looking for scholarships, they're going to come to you in a way. Like, so you have to have like kind of like the right resources in a sense. So the ones that I received, the Sean Carter Foundation Scholarship Program, I started that when I was a junior in high school. And so they take you on a college tour and then they train you, like they help you with your college essay as well. They help you learn how to apply to financial aid and certain things like that. That one was in college. However, they renew the scholarship yearly. So you have to like apply every year and then you'll continue to get that money. For UNCF, I received the Altria Scholarship. That was for business as well. And I received that last year. So that was while I was in college. I also received the HBCU President Scholarship. I'm going to type them in the chat, but that was just for attending HBCU. We had an interview process and scholarship essay as well, of course, recommendations. I also received a scholarship for being an entrepreneur. Like I said, I do have a natural hair brand. And so sharing my story with that, starting in high school, that's how I was able to receive that one. And there are a couple others that I can type down. I also received a lot of money from the organizations that I was a part of. So earlier I mentioned the Youth Auxiliary that I came through while I was in high school. And currently I'm now officially a member of the organization, which is Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. And so I recently received a scholarship from them. It's a life membership scholarship. And that was based on community service. And so that's something I would encourage you guys also to make sure that you're heavily involved in. Like people want to make sure that you're going to give back to the community once they've poured into you, in a sense. So once they've poured into you. So that's to answer the scholarship questions. To agree with what was recently said about not giving up, that is honestly my advice to you guys. I don't want you guys to let your initial situation with getting admitted into or like attending an HBCU stop you. So similar to what Naomi said, when she got accepted to Howard, she didn't initially go in with funding. However, working through it is what's really going to get you there. To be honest, when I was in high school, my only goal was to go to college for free. That is all I kept saying I wanted to do, and I was trying to speak it into existence. Freshman year, I got there, and I only secured half of however much. And Hampton University cost $40,000, so I was only able to secure half of that. However, I didn't let that stop me. So I continued applying to scholarships wherever I could find them. And thankfully and gratefully for the past 2 years, I'm in my final, actually this year too. So the last 3 years, I haven't had to take out any loans because I secured my scholarships, like continuously working through it. The other thing I want to say is like when Natai just said, just make sure, one thing that has helped me is remaining organized. And I'm not always on top of it because sometimes I am asking for my recommendations late, because even though I find them late, I'm still not going to let that stop me. So the deadline could be tomorrow and I will still text Natalia like, I need a recommendation. So I don't let that stop me. However, now I have a folder where I have like either a list of people who will send me recommendations, a list of the letters that I already have. Maybe they need to be updated, so you can just send them. A lot of time, like Natalia said, your professors, your mentors, they're busy. And so they may even ask you to write it, and then like they'll just reword it based on their experiences and stuff like that. So it's great to have an outline, because I'm ready to just copy and paste, send, and let them just let them personalize it however they want. that goes with scholarship essays as well. I have been probably reworking the same 3 topics for the past 4 years. Thank you to Natalia and Caesar Fortune for the writing coaches that we had. And so they taught me how to rework it based on whatever the prompt is that they may be asking. And so, yes, that would be my advice. Just to save time, but do not give up, because there's always a will. Where there's a will, there's a way, and things will always fall into place.
Do you mind just repeating the question?
Oh, what advice do you have?
Okay. Just like general advice?
Oh, about scholarships, of course, you know, and your whole experience. But if you have any college advice too, why not?
Yeah, so I'd say my advice, personally, if I remember correctly, most of my scholarships actually came like after I was in school already. So granted, like my first scholarship came from my school, like the rest of them ended up coming longer down the line, similar to Michaela. And so what I'd say is just never give up and always remember, like Miss Carolyn said, continue to apply. Like apply for everything, because a lot of times you'll think like, oh man, this looks like such a big scholarship. I'm sure there's like thousands of applicants, and sometimes there will only be 5. And unfortunately, I wish somebody would have told me this, and they probably did, but I wish I would have remembered this like when I was applying for school and a few years earlier, like maybe in my freshman year, because now I'm just now realizing that like there's so much money out there and you just have to take it. Like you literally just have to go out for it, but there's literally so much, and it can be discouraging at times because sometimes you're really just not looking in the right places, or sometimes you just have to wait for it. I don't want to say wait for things to come to you, but things always work out. Like things are always going to work out in your favor. Like hard, you may be stressed at some points, but there are so many amazing like experiences and things that you're going to learn while at your school. So the one thing that you don't want to have to be worried about is your financial status. So try and get that out of the way as much as possible. And yeah, enjoy your college experience, because mine is almost over, and I'm pretty sad that I'm a senior in like during coronavirus, because this is probably, well, the last time I saw my friends was spring break, which was like March. And so I may not see my friends ever again unless we travel or end up in the same city after graduation. So just enjoy every experience. Go to the football games, go to the meetings, just do it all.
Awesome. So we do have some questions coming into the chat. One is to Michaela. What could we do to get the same experience to know how to use the same things over 4 years? I'm guessing he's saying like how to tweak the same kind of information over the 4 years. I'll let you take that, because I know you went through the process with Seeds. Yeah, that, okay. I know you went through the process with Seeds, and we had like professionals helping you. I know during COVID season, a lot of people have been very generous with their times lately, and there have been like professional writers that are volunteering their time to help review college essays for high school seniors. And if you have one good solid essay, especially like your first college essay that tells a very dynamic story about you, just looking at the prompt of the scholarship organization, researching the scholarship organization, their values. Some of the top ones, I know we talked about Thurgood Marshall, we talked about the United Negro College Fund. Those are becoming quite, I mean, they were already in competitive scholarships, but they're quite competitive. There's the Jackie Robinson Scholarship as well. A lot of them like for you to tweak the scholarship to the theme of their scholarship. So the thing about the United Negro College Fund Scholarship is just not one scholarship, but it's multiple scholarships that they're associated with. So looking at the directions, what's the majors of interest, that's how you know how to tweak your essay to kind of be associated with the theme of that scholarship. So Jackie Robinson Scholarship, one of their main essay prompts is like, oh, what are how do you connect to the values of Jackie Robinson? So we know Jackie Robinson diversified baseball. He was like a trendsetter. He was not afraid to put himself out there to make change. So whatever's in your essay, your college essay, and you have aspects of that or things in your resume that shows aspects of that, you want to bring that to the front of your scholarship essays. But I'll let the young ladies take it, as well as Caroline, because she sees applicants all the time.
What I would say, and what we do is we definitely make sure that as our scholars are applying for additional scholarships, that they send it to us and that we review it and that we edit. And what we try to get them to do is, again, once they have a theme, you have a general theme of what you're wanting to say. And depending on who you're applying to, you want to tweak it. But also I want to say that if you are deciding to go to the HBCU, do your research. Find out the programs that HBCU offers. Then go and look at their scholarships, and then go and reach out to their financial aid to find out the requirements. There are so many scholarships, and then once you actually get accepted into a school, whatever program you're going to major in, get connected in those programs, because your professors in those programs will know of various scholarships too. There's just so many scholarships out there that you can get, but finding a template that you can use and you can modify when you are creating essay letters or recommendations is going to save you a lot of time. Like Naomi said, it's a lot of copying, pasting, and you're tweaking it. But before you do it, always make sure that you have somebody do a second set of eyes on it. Because you don't want to send something that you've sent to a previous scholarship and you think you're copying and pasting and you done left something out and you use the name of the previous scholar, but you're applying for something else. So always use a second eye if you are going to use a template to apply to multiple scholarships and recommendation letters.
To answer the question about the experience, so like Natalia said, we received a lot of that mentorship through Seeds of Fortune. And so what I would say is, over time, when you look at a lot of the scholarship essays and like the questions that they ask you, if you can hone in on one very unique experience, then you can find a lot of different answers to that. So some of the questions that a scholarship or like a college essay would ask you is, what are some leadership skills you have? What community service have you partnered in? They could ask you what is an obstacle that you've overcome? And so, for example, with my natural hair business, if they were to ask me about leadership, I would explain that I'm a co-founder and I have to work with two of my other friends and how we lead that, or how I have good organizational skills. If they're asking me about community service, then I'll talk about how we speak at different events, how we host our own events, or we do like college dorm talks and stuff like that. If they're asking me about obstacles that I've overcome, it's not easy being an entrepreneur and a student at the same time. So you can find different experiences within one overlying branch of something, or like a different part of your life to help you. So that's an example of that. Did I answer that correctly?
Naomi, anything you have to add before we start to transition?
I'll just answer this question. What is a good substitute for going to football games during COVID-19? Honestly, question. So I'm just going to be totally honest, because no one has really experienced this before. So schools are trying, as much as we're trying to figure it out, schools are also trying to figure it out. How can we keep the liveliness of an HBCU campus turned virtual? So I think the short answer is that schools are still trying to figure it out. However, what I have seen is sometimes there'll be virtual panels, something like this, or there may be like club meetings to like join a club, or just if you're interested in learning more about something at your prospective university. Zoom, unfortunately, I know we're so sick of Zoom. We've been taking classes on Zoom, meetings on Zoom, everything's on Zoom, but really Zoom. And then another thing that I'd add is participate in class, like, because you're not really getting much communication with like other students right now as you would like if you were on a college campus or if you were like in the classroom. So participate in class to help you feel like a bit more normal. And yeah, pretty much that's my answer. I'm sorry it's not like the best answer that you were probably looking for, but that's like my honest answer.
I would also say just do have because we do have access to we just have to like extend just in case because the platform will shut down on us at 9 o'clock. So we just gotta make sure we're good. Having small meetups in your city with your friends, especially right now since it's still warm outside. If you are all in the same, like if a couple of people are in the metro area that you live in or the suburbs that you live in, doing like a picnic, park party, everything Coke 6 feet apart, with your mask on, but having you're welcome. Having little meetups, little barbecues. I just saw Michaela the other day on Instagram. They was having a great time at Prospect Park or Fort Greene, one of those parks. But it's a great way to be able to stay connected to people and to be able to bring your campus to your local town. That also reminds me of some other scholarship things that you guys should be thinking about. Alumni associations. Almost every major city has an alumni association connected to the college, HBCU college. So you should definitely be researching the alumni websites because they usually give between $1,000 to $5,000. There's also like especially recent grads, they have small parties that they put together to create their own HBCU funds. So that's a place that I would be looking at as well to be able to secure some funding to schools. And it also helps you to have some type of mentorship and connection because alumni, especially HBCU alumni, is nothing like an HBCU alumni. They are so proud of their institution, so much love, and they typically show a lot of love to people that have gone to their schools or are in the HBCU network. So definitely looking at alumni institutions in your city and region, especially will be probably less competitive too because you're only competing against people in your city, or if you're in New York, your borough or county, depending on how your city is set up as well. And then something else I wanted to bring to the forefront is departmental scholarships. That was really a heavy focus topic, and that is how a lot of students are able to close a lot of the gaps. So right now, if you're a high school senior and you're really thinking about what majors you want to go into, what career fields you want to be a part of, that is something that you should really be taking seriously because a lot of times, especially like STEM majors, some business majors where there's underrepresented minorities in it, there's a lot of funding to be had. Engineering majors, and as Caroline said, that it is very important to research the HBCUs. As in any institution that you go to, you want to make sure that they have at least more than a 50% graduation rate at those schools. They're going to have the resources, the connections to help you to go into your career, because the last thing you want to do for any college is to go to a school that is not going to help you to further your future. It doesn't matter if it's a HBCU, PWI, state school. It's very important right now that you do the research. I know you're going to be excited when you get those on-the-spot acceptances. You're going to go into the app and be like, we want you. And now you have to figure out, do you want them? So really, really, really do your research. I know our ladies on this panel went into a leap of faith. I am not such a leap of faith kind of person. I'm really like concrete paper. I need all those numbers to add up. So you really want to make sure all the numbers add up, because the thing is that happens if you don't is that you might end up transferring. So you'll start at an HBCU, you'll be there for the first year, and then you'll figure out all these dollar signs are not adding up, and then you'll be going back home to maybe a state college of your choice. The great thing about some of the cities and the states that I did see represented tonight is that some HBCUs are your state schools. So if you really want to go to HBCU, you should be looking at some of those the HBCUs in your state that are state schools, because you can receive federal funding, but you'll also receive your state financial aid funding as well. So those are really some things that you want to take into consideration, as well as a lot of the colleges that pipeline from your region. So if you're in the South, there's a lot of like the Southeast, I would say, there's a high concentration of certain colleges that people apply to. If you're from the Midwest, there's a certain like Kentucky State University and a lot of those type of schools. Pipeline from there. If you're from the West Coast, typically people are coming in from Mississippi, Arkansas. So you just really need to understand the geographic regions and how they connect to the scholarship funds. And then particularly if it is a private HBCU, if you are a state resident in that state, even though it's a private school, if you look on their website, you'll start to see family funded scholarships. So those are either alumni, people that are very passionate about helping minorities to be successful. They have created family funded scholarships for people from particular high schools in your region, or from the state resident of that region that receives special scholarships. And usually you have to keep in touch with the family, write them some type of letter, attend dinners, which is also a great network for you, especially when you're looking for jobs and internships in your undergraduate career. We have about 5 minutes left, so I want to take any other questions that we have from the audience. If there's not, this has been an amazing panel, and I'll just let each of our panelists say one word that they want you to remember before we leave today. So I'm looking at the chat. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, all right. Caroline, you first.
So first of all, thank you guys for having me on. Also, if anyone is here in the Atlanta metro area, 5strongscholar.org. We are taking applications now through December 1st. But I will leave you with the one word that I leave my scholars with, and that's scholarships. Get that bag, scholarships.
Just to answer your question, Kayla Davis, I'd say there are like some scholarships that you will only be able to get as a junior, like junior standing in high school, and then some you'll only be able to get as a senior standing in high school. So just like do your research on the scholarships, because sometimes like in the fine print, you'll be like, oh, this is like a really good scholarship, and it'll say only for seniors, or vice versa. Like when you turn a senior standing, it might say only for juniors. So just look for that. And then my word would just be commit. I think commit.
There was a question about how our HBCUs impacted us, and for me, it's provided me with like a very strong community of people that look like me, who have like the same goals when it comes to not just like being successful, but important things that you don't learn when you're in high school if you go to just a regular school. So talking about entrepreneurship, talking about generational wealth, talking about following your passions, which can be outside of like science, the medical field, business, whatever it is, like seeing everyone actually, I would say, like go for their passions and what they want to do while also balancing schooling, all of those things. It constantly reminds you that you can do the same thing. And so with that, I would say my word is resilience, or maybe determination. And I say that because, like Ms. Hyatt said, she's not the one to take the biggest risk, but I know dealing with myself and Naomi, we were probably on the opposite end of that. And so we would receive a lot of pushback with going to these HBCUs, because Ms. Hyatt would just be like, where's the money? Like, and I had a separate opportunity where I did turn down a full tuition like opportunity, but that's because I knew myself and I knew the work ethic that I had. I knew where I wanted to go. So if you know you want to go to an HBCU, and this is also to speak to the person who said they want to transfer, you have to know yourself, and if you're willing to fight and work hard for that money, like everyone said, applying to scholarships is literally like a part-time job. My mother reminds me every week, have you started applying to scholarships? My mentors remind me, like everyone, even my friends, honestly. So you have to be determined to continuously and actively apply to them, rework yourself, and make sure you're always letting other people know in your circle that you're looking as well, because when it comes to like the HBCU alumni and stuff like that, if you let them know and you like keep that bug in their ear, like you just check on them when they receive those opportunities, and I promise you they do, or they have the money, they're going to automatically think about you. They're going to automatically send it to you. And like Naomi said as well, you won't really realize sometimes that there's probably only 1, 2, maybe 5 people applying to the scholarship. So just remain resilient, and if it's really what you want, don't let anyone try to speak you out of it. Just go for it, honestly. And congratulations to all of you guys for actually being on this call, because this is one of the first steps to actually like being open to receiving this information. This is where we started, and that's how we got where we are. So if you continue to do that and you continue with that effort, then you guys should be fine.
So you heard from them. Thank you, ladies, for taking your time tonight to give these wonderful high school seniors, juniors, and it seems we got a mom that got an 8th grader out here. Yes, the earlier the better. Our college for being with us today, sharing this information. We know our YouTube live link got a little crazy, so we'll be posting this on YouTube and sharing the link with HBCU Night, who we're hosting this with today for their panel. Make sure you go and check out everything they have going on, because they're an amazing organization. Shout out to you, Dre. And wonderful meeting you guys, and apply, and secure the bag. Secure the bag. All right. Good night, everyone, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening.
Thank you.